Okay, everybody, welcome to another Ignite Visibility University. Today, I'm really excited because we have Chris Kaiser, CEO and founder of Clickatree, coming to us all the way from Frankfurt, Germany. Really excited to have you here. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm excellent. Thank you very much, John. It's a pleasure to be on. Hello to
Awesome.
California.
Thank you. It's really great to have international guests on. I think it brings a worldly view to our audience. And, the reason I wanted to have you on is because I thought the cause was really cool, environmentally based, helping organizations. But before we get into that, I guess maybe just tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of how you got to where you are today.
More than happy to, yeah. As you already mentioned, I'm Chris. I'm running Clickatree these days. Back in 2012, I made the decision to move to Thailand and had this huge privilege of working in super close contact with elephants there. And their main challenge is unfortunately loss of habitat. And because I incurably fell in love with them, I decided I need to do something about it. And that's how I got to start my own business. My background is mostly in tourism, in sales and marketing. So that's what I know about, but I'm super delighted that I can bring all this knowledge into working for a good cause and making the planet a better place.
So talk to me just a little bit more about that pain point, elephants, environment, environmentalism in general is very near and dear to me. I'm a huge surfer, and I just feel it's imperative that we take care of the planet, especially moving into the future with greenhouse and all that. Talk to me about
Yes.
like what was some of those defining moments where you decided, I'm really going to do this, I'm going to launch this, and why is it so important for consumers and just for listeners to understand about this cause and why you made this cause and the reasoning behind this cause?
My main wake up call was basically the tragic loss of my favorite elephant baby. When I moved to Thailand in 2012, she was about 6 months old. And we sort of grew up together because I, of course, had never worked with elephants. Here in Germany, we have them in zoos and stuff, and I've seen them on pictures, but they're basically best buddies with them from 1 minute to the next. And yeah, growing up with her, walking through the forest, playing soccer with coconuts and stuff like that is unforgettable experiences. So losing, she passed away on her fourth birthday, and that was super sad moment. And yeah, you feel helpless to start with, and then you start realizing, well, nothing I can ever do will bring her back, but there's tons of other elephant babies out there who might need help. And planting trees is not exactly reinventing the wheel. There's tons of people doing it and a lot of people who are good at it. All they often need is a bit of good marketing and making things simple. Um, and maybe also getting it a little bit out of this NGO niche. So we developed this business model where, well, on the one hand, you can go on clickatree.com and plant a tree just from the comfort of your screen. You don't even need to wear pants while doing it.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, planting trees for businesses and making it a worthy business cause where our partners actually increase their revenues, they increase their profits, but they do good at the same time. So you basically merge capitalism and charitalistic work. And we call it charitalism because Germans are amazing at being funny. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I won't comment on the cultural thing there, but I I do
Thanks.
like it. And look, if we all kind of rallied around this and actually created more trees and more greenery, it would stop a lot of the major issues that we're having in the environment today, and it would make the world a beautiful place. So I love the cause.
So true.
Talk to me a little bit about the model, for our marketers, our product people out there, maybe even just any business people like myself or listeners who might want to get involved and integrate with this. How would they integrate this with their business?
We always also there try to make things as simple as possible. So we work with companies across the board. A lot of them were in tourism and travel to start with. Now we have gastronomy, we have mobility, we have beauty, fashion, you name it, basically. And how it most of the time works is that you tie one specific product to planting a tree. So if you would run a restaurant, for example, you dedicate one specific dish to, like, call it the food for future or whatever you want. And then you increase the price for it a little bit to include the cost for planting a tree. And then your guests can actively choose, look, yes, I want to do something good for the planet. I choose this food for the future. and they buy it, they purchase it, they pay for it, and that way you as gastronomy don't have any costs for it because your clients already purchase it. But on the other hand, if the client says, well, that's too expensive, or I can't afford it, or I don't care about the planet, or whatever the reason is, then they just select a different dish from your menu. So you don't chase away customers. On the other, on the contrary, you rather attract a lot of new customers, and you get a lot of press for it because you're making sustainability so simple. If you were to say you plant a tree for every 1,000 podcast downloads or something like that, then
Hmm.
more people would feel inclined to share with their friends and say, hey, look, download this amazing podcast, because the more podcasts are downloaded, the more trees are being planted. And it's so simple. You learn something by listening to this cool podcast, and you do something good for the planet. I mean, how awesome is that? It's win-win for everyone. So that's usually how we tailor these solutions to partners we work with.
I like it. I really like it. I think of myself as a consumer where I looking at two products that were equivalent, and I knew that purchasing one would, enable, a tree to be planted somewhere and do a little bit of good for the environment, and it was slightly more. That for me would be a huge decision, making criteria, and I would definitely go for something that would help. I really like that. I like the idea of the restaurant dish, and obviously, that's something that you've done before. It makes me think about, one of our clients who is one of the biggest water bottle manufacturers out there in the world. You line a tree with
Nice.
one
Yeah.
type of water bottle, that might be something we can
Yeah,
bring up to them. So tell
exactly.
me just a little bit about, so say I sell one. Where does the tree get planted? How does that execution work? And was that hard for you to get all that set up initially when you were first starting the business?
That is definitely the hardest part. Yeah, to
Hmm.
find trustworthy, reliable partners who actually get the stuff in the ground, because we plant a lot of trees in the tropics. A, because trees grow a lot faster there because there's no winter break or anything; they just grow all year round. And B, because we exclusively work with full-time workers. We don't employ volunteers or anything like that, because I think if someone actually goes through this hardship of putting a tree in the ground and nursing it to its full growth, these people deserve a wage, and they actually deserve their wage way more than many other people who earn a wage. So we only work with full-time workers, and that, of course, yeah, then makes it a bit more difficult for us to check on all these things, because I can't go there every week and check on things. So we need reliable partners. And that is what took us the better part of the past 3 years to find these reliable relationships. But now we've built them, and we're super glad to work with cool teams that are capable of doing stuff and that are great at reporting back. They tell you, what types of tree they planted, why they planted these types of trees, why they planted it in this combination. They send you amazing images that you can then send on to your clients or to your listeners or to your fans. And the way it works with our partners is, again, we try to make it as simple as possible. Most of them simply send us an email once every quarter and say, hey, Chris, we need 585 trees or something like that. And we send out the invoice, we start planting and nursing. And once everything is done, we send out the report. This is what
Wow.
happened. Here's the GPS coordinates. Here are all the images. And
Yeah,
here's the story from Mary, who's taking care of your trees, and thanks to you can now send her 3 children to university or something like that. So that you
that's
have
really cool.
everything you need to further promote your cool engagement. If you do good, you should shout out about it and tell everyone about it. That's what I think.
I think, we have, about 100 people who work for us here now, and we're always, we are a cause driven organization, and we help underprivileged kids get into college with some of our profits. We help cancer patients with some of our profits. We reinvest in the community and in philanthropy. And I could just see such a cool thing if you had trees that were growing, a grove that was connected to the work that you were doing with an organization. So I want to circle back to that a little bit in just a moment. But because this is a marketing focused, in many ways, we like business owners, entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and marketers. As you've been kind of able to have some level of success here, and starting a business is hard, and but it's grown and it's become something that's definitely sustainable. What's kind of helped you and been the best along the way, like marketing and business wise? Like what were some of the biggest, like, if you were telling your younger self or another entrepreneur, what's working for you in marketing right now?
There's there's two things I think that helped me a lot to get to where we are. The first thing is just do it, basically.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I was always way too perfectionist, and trying to do everything myself and getting bogged down, being like, oh, I need a website. I can't program a website. Oh my gosh, I should basically just go back and, I don't know, do what I do best, Until then I realized, okay, whatever, let's outsource that. Maybe I teach myself a little bit with the YouTube channel, and then I get better at it. And the second part of then was this learning, like scrap perfectionism and go for what they call the 80-20 rule, that usually
Hmm.
by 20% of your input you get 80% of your output. And that's enough to get started. If you look back at my first website, you basically point fingers at me and laugh at me how I dared to launch that. It looks ridiculous, but back then it was a website, and I could share it on Facebook. I could share it with friends. I could get real life feedback from customers and they would say, look, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And then I could implement it step by step. If I would have been stuck in my cellar, until I tried to get the perfect website, I would have never gotten started. So this efficiency thing is what works a lot. And from marketing perspective, we do good. We plant trees. We fight climate change. We create habitat for animals. We create jobs for people who really need them. That's all the marketing we need, really.
Yep. I like that. No, that's great. I actually coded up our first website too for when I started this company 8 years ago, and did it at night, and it was the ugliest website you've ever seen. And we're a marketing company, so we had to rebuild the entire thing to, point taken. Listeners, definitely take that into account. Do your strengths and then your weaknesses. Outsource as much as you can. It'll get you ahead quicker. Okay, so Chris, last thing I want to ask you today, what's kind of some final things that you want people to keep in mind, with the environment, why it's important behind your cause? What's kind of some lasting impressions you'd like to leave with our listeners today?
Well, I do believe that most of us know what the coronavirus is. I personally think it came about because humans are digging too deep into animal environment. And that is where these zoonotic diseases come from. Animals jump over to humans and suddenly they cause a global pandemic. I wouldn't think anybody on this planet actually likes corona. So I guess
Yeah.
that's the best wake up call to tell people, look, we need to do something. We need to act. We had horrible wildfires all across the planet, may it be in Western states, may it be in Siberia, Brazil, Australia, you name it. The planet actually is burning, and we need to act, and we need to not just make pledges and say, yes, that's a great thing, we should do something, and then, what can we do? Just act, go to clickatree.com and plant a tree right now if you like, or start something yourself. I mean, all your listeners are entrepreneurs or business people. You can change the planet. I mean, 3 years ago, I felt small. I was an employee at some company, which I liked, but 3 years later, I'm running this company. We planted over 100,000 trees together. We
Wow.
have hundreds of amazing partners all across the globe. You're not too small to make a difference. I haven't saved the planet, surely not. We're losing 15 billion trees every year. But I made a small change, and if everybody adds a small change, all together we're strong, and then we make a big change. So get active. Don't be
I love
shy.
it.
Do something about it. You're awesome.
I love it. Really well said. Great heart. Totally align with you there. I love how real you are in that statement. Everybody check out clickatree.com. Align with it with your business needs. And when you watch this video or you see it on social media, give it a like, a comment, give Chris a shout out for doing good in the world. Chris, thank you so much for taking time today. And we'll see you soon. Thanks for being on. We appreciate you.